G'day, legends. Welcome back to the Real Raw Relatable podcast. We had an incredible response from the episode that Steve and I did last week together. So I'm super, super grateful that you're on board, us coming together and talking all things relationships and how we are navigating our individual selves in a relationship and also in a blended family. So there's certainly different layers upon upon the relationship, which I'm sure there are for you too. So thank you so much to the people who wrote in, to the DMs of, sharing just how relatable that episode was. We're so stoked that it hit home for you. So like we shared, if you have any topics or any questions regarding relationships or what came up for you after that episode that you'd like us to possibly talk to a little more intimately, do let us know. Email info@catjohn.com.au. What I want to talk about today is the topic of values. And I'm sure you've at some point in your life played with the concept of values. Maybe you think you know what your values are. Maybe you totally know what your values are. You're on some kind of journey with it. Maybe it's the start of a relationship with your values, or you're like, no, we're committed. We're in a committed relationship. And it's, of course, always ever changing. I believe that our values continue to invite us to live more closely, deeply, and intimately into them. And one of my core values is personal responsibility. I believe it always will be, mainly because for a good chunk of the first 2 decades of my life, I pretty much didn't want to assume personal responsibility or responsibility for the things that I had done, for the things that were so-called happening to me, and certainly love to find blame, whether it be out in the universe or within another human, or, in a societal kind of realm. And something that has sparked up for me recently, and I'm in Melbourne, Australia. I know a lot of you are from Melbourne, Australia, but there are a whole bunch of new listeners here from all around the world. So thank you for tuning in and listening to this. But here in Melbourne, we had a program. There was a program called Red Cycle that took soft plastics, where you could take your soft plastics to a supermarket, put it in a particular type of bin, and they were to take the soft plastic, do whatever they did to recycle it, so that there's less single-use plastic in the world. And I have been doing that, or I had been doing that for nearly three and a half years, maybe even longer. And it took time for my whole family to get on board that, or at least, Kitty, which bin does this go in? Because we had a compost bin, we had a recycle bin, a rubbish bin, and then a soft plastics bin. So they were like, which one goes where? And I took charge of it. I took the composting away and I took the soft plastics, although we now have a composting bin from the council, which I'm so grateful for. Thank you, finally. Anyway, so I was pretty stoked, we're in our rhythm. I was helpful. I was grateful that we were contributing better to the planet by separating our plastics from rubbish so that it was at least being recycled. However, that was not the case. I don't know the ins and outs or the politics of it, but basically that company was not doing what they were meant to be doing. And instead, all of that soft plastic, and I mean a lot of soft plastic, was being stored in shipping containers, which was then found out late last year, late to mid-ish last year. And all of that plastic then went back into landfill. So for me, I was leaning into the value of personal responsibility because I also have a value of kindness. And to me, kindness goes a long way, and it spreads out a long way. So it's kindness towards self, it's kindness to, you know, my past, it's kindness to my family, to my community, etc. But you know, something that I really give deep fucks about is our planet, and how much is inconvenienced to convenience us. That keeps me up at night, you know, especially when it comes to animals as well, which I've spoken about here. So I was leaning into the value of personal responsibility for the last 3 and a bit years, because I'm like, nah, I don't want to put soft plastics in the rubbish bin when I could simply do this and then drive to the supermarket. So I felt like I was really leaning into that, and then being kind toward the planet, which then lent into my other value of authenticity, living true to what I believe is best. That then helped me feel more authentic and aligned. So when this whole red cycle thing went bust, you know, there was a period of time where I was like, fucking hell, you know, I guess going back into that victimized mental state of fuck that company, or screw this, or screw that. It's all too bloody hard. You know, now imagine all the soft plastic that's going to be going into landfill. And I really started to notice the difference in our rubbish bin with the soft plastics. And even the girls, my stepdaughters, were like, oh, Kitty, I'm so used to putting this not here. It feels weird putting it there. And it's true. You know, they were just, like I said, they were so well into the groove of doing it. So even to see their little heartbreaks of like, oh, I feel bad putting this into the rubbish bin, I'm like, me too. And I would say for like a month or so, that's just what we started to do. We're like, all right, well, this is going to go on in the rubbish bin now. And every time the rubbish bin would be full, and our big bin would be a little more full than it used to be, because we barely filled up one garbage bag back when the whole red cycle thing was taking place. So my heart was sinking. And I thought, fuck, this just doesn't feel right. This just doesn't feel right. And I know that I can't get it perfect, and I'm not going to try and get everything perfect, but I believe that we can do better. And this is where I believe the values communicate to us when we really are in a committed relationship with them. They start talking to us, we listen, and we're like, okay, cool. Well, that's going to make me have to change a few things. I'm going to have to be more aware. I'm going to have to be more conscious. I'm going to have to be more prepared for certain things, right? So I remember just seeing the bin being full and not being okay with that, just not being okay with that. And I'm like, okay, cool. How can we do better? So I said to Steve, I'd really like to set an intention for the family to reduce soft plastic use, because that's not now being recycled. It's going into landfill, and who knows how long that's going to take. Times that by the amount of humans on the planet, I can't sleep at night, you know? So he's like, cool. Just let us know what we can do, how we can help. And, you know, to be honest, it's no big, it's not a big, what's the word? It's nothing new in what I'm doing, but they are these small changes that have made a difference. And like I said, I really believe that's personal responsibility, knocking on my door, going, hey, don't blame this on, don't now blame Red Cycle and use this as a reason to not fulfill what's important to you. Don't blame other certain companies that aren't stepping forward and not creating a program. Stop waiting, basically. Stop blaming and stop waiting. What are you going to do? So I was like, cool. Well, I typically go to a small grocer that is up the street from us. I typically don't like going to mass big supermarkets. So I've always got my little net bags, my reusable bags where I put fruit and stuff in. So I've been doing that for a long time. And what I've started to do is stop buying packaged meats from there. So typically I don't eat meat, but my family does. I'd get things off the shelf and then put it in. But again, in my head, I was like, oh, but this is okay because I can put X and Y and Z into the soft plastics, which now we can't. So again, it's calling on me to be more prepared, to be more organized when I go out shopping. So instead of buying those things that are from the grocer, that are in containers and soft plastic type things, I will now go to the butcher and I will take my containers. Hello, Bailey. Oh, big yawn for you. I will take my containers and they'll weigh them and then I'll get them to put this, that, or the other in them. I will take a container to the fish shop to get these little puppies here, their salmon, once a week, instead of it being wrapped in a plastic bag and then wrapped in paper and then that plastic bag going into the rubbish bin and then adding to more recycling, right? So that's what I started to do. And then just by a wonderful, awesome chance, there's this awesome store that opened up where we live. And it's called Graham Sustainable, where you, again, take your containers. And there's loads of different things. There's flour, there's granola, there's pasta, there's rice, there's nuts, there's dishwashing liquid, there's, soaps for the house, even shampoo, conditioner. They have milk on tap, even though for my stepdaughters, I don't buy the traditional milk, even though they don't like all the other milks. There is a brand out there called How Now Milk, depends where you live, that do not separate the mother and the calf, and then the calf goes off and gets slaughtered. The calf and the mother stay together and the calf gets to grow up and live and experience the world in a kind environment. It's called How Now Milk. But anyway, they do have milk on tap there. So that's, again, instead of getting the bottled things all the time. And it's awesome. They actually have wine on tap. They have kombucha on tap. And I know there's an even bigger store called Source Foods, Bulk Foods. Again, this is in Melbourne, Australia. It's probably different from where you are. But these places are around and, I'm discovering them more and more and more, this value of personal responsibility that really does link into the value of kindness toward the planet, that then allows me to feel more authentic and aligned to what matters to me, I believe is really speaking to me now. It's like, cool, like I said, don't wait for another company. Don't wait for something to change before you can change. You can make the little differences. And this is what the power of knowing your values can do. Yes, it's going to inconvenience you for a little period of time. Like I said, it's like, oh, Kat, come on, like make sure you take what containers am I going to take? We're going to take that for this. We're going to take that for that. Even at that store, it had mineral salt. So I'm like, yes, I don't have to constantly buy, things in boxes anymore. So, I have to map out like, right, that's going to be for the bath salts. This is going to be for the chicken. This is going to be for the rice. This is going to be for the whatever. And thank goodness Steve would say hoard, but I would say collect. What are they called? Containers from if ever we order takeaway or whatever. I'm like, we ain't throwing that out. We are going to clean this and we're going to store these because they will come to good use. And voila, they are coming to very good use. And even the kids are awesome at home. Instead of wrapping avocado or tomato or whatever in Glad wrap, they just put it into a container, and that's what we use. We barely use Glad wrap in our house, which I'm really proud of, and want to continue doing that. And the kids are like, oh, no, I won't get the Glad wrap. I'll just put my sandwich in a container. I'm like, yes, you will, little legends. I'm helping you in your future, I promise. So, like I said, and the intention behind this episode is values they really do help us live more aligned and more congruency with our self, our inner self. And I believe that really does contribute to feelings of self-confidence, self-worth, feeling like you're a decent human being, and feeling good about yourself. And there are many of us who don't feel good about ourselves, where we do act out of alignment, where we do want to do X, Y, Z, but we do, A, B, C instead. And so knowing what your values are, depending on where you are in your journey with values, if you're like, I actually have no fucking idea what they are, or, yes, I do, but I'm kind of ignoring them at the moment. Or yes, I do, and I can really feel it asking me to step up a little more. Wherever you are in relation to that, that's okay. There's no judgment on that. If you are at the beginning, I really do recommend discover them, to know what matters to you, to know what deeply matters to you, because that then can direct the actions that you take out in the world, which then have a direct impact on how you feel about yourself and about the world. And yes, there are times where I'm like, fucking, this is doing nothing. What I'm doing is doing nothing. And I feel like the world is too big. And I feel like all the problems of the world just are never going to be solved. And it's probably true. But you know what? So long as in my little corner, I'm doing my thing and I share it and a few people get inspired by it. And then, when I come to my deathbed and I ask myself, did I do what mattered? I'll be proud. I'll be happy, and that'll keep me sleeping at least a little bit better at night. If you're in a position right now where you do know what your values are and they are calling you to really lean into them a little more, what is your resistance around that? Get curious and inquire. What is my resistance to this? What am I resistant to wanting to change? If it's change that I fear, what do I fear is going to happen because of that change? Are you going to fear that you're going to lose friendships, or you fear that you're going to look like the Looney Tune of the family? You're going to look like XYZ, get clear on that and acknowledge whatever the dirty darkness is underneath and let it out, And if you are in a fairly committed relationship with your values and they're asking you to lean in a little more, what are they asking of you? And what are you prepared to do or to not do? And like I said, I really believe that this is important for us as human beings, as a foundation to the human race. Knowing what we value, like at the level of our heart, really is important, because can you imagine if more of us were living in congruency with our values? I know we're not going to live into them perfectly, and that's not the aim of the game anyway. It's as close to as possible. I get that it's always a dance, and sometimes we dance away and sometimes we dance close. But imagine if more of us were. A lot of problems of the world, I believe, would get solved. But unfortunately, we just let our mind kind of take over and focus on petty matters that don't actually matter. So the things that actually do matter kind of are just sidelined and benched. It's like the best player on a baseball team being like, mate, I'm here, I can play, I'm happy to get on the field, or if it's a netball player, I'm happy to get on the court, whatever it may be. Go sit and be with your best player, meaning your values, talk to it, learn from it, understand it, get clear on why it actually matters to you. Because I really do deep down believe that it helps us feel more proud of ourselves, empowered, greater self-worth, confident in who we are. And then it contributes some pretty cool shit to the planet.